Morning everyone. So I've been reading this book, just started, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's quite a famous book, and what it's about is, well, thinking fast and slow. So thinking fast, as Daniel calls it system one, which is, you could say is like autonomous, almost like subconscious. So these might be subconscious behaviours, but also things like learnt behaviours. So whether you've, if you're particularly good at a sport, you're described as being like in a flow state, or particularly good or skilled at something. You're in a flow state, and that's because you've got learnt motor skills, and it's almost, or driving a car, it's just automatic. You don't have to think about it too much. And that's just thinking fast. It's just immediate. You just, you walk. Walking is the most basic system one control, because it's just so automatic. You're not thinking about it whatsoever. So is driving, and then you can get into a flow state in many things in life. Thinking slow is what Daniel calls system two thinking. These are like where you need to actually put a bit more thought into it, and it's a lot more demanding. And the more demanding it gets, you can actually tell on people, because the pupils dilate as they're in deep cognitive thought. And it can be many things. It doesn't have to be a mental task like arithmetic or something like that. It can be a physical task as well, something that requires something that's new and you haven't done enough training for, or whatever, that requires a bit more thought. Now, that's the gist of it, but when you read a book like this, you always pick out, there's always a nugget somewhere, and I think I might have found it this morning. So I've picked out a couple of sentences. Here goes. System one has more influence on behaviour when system two is busy, and it has a sweet tooth. What this sentence is talking about, it talks about if you're in a situation where you're in sort of a demanding cognitive task. This might be like an arithmetic task. You've got some equation to solve for whatever reason, whether that's, working out how much something would cost, or adding and subtracting, something like that. And when what it talks about is if you're in that situation where you've got a demanding cognitive task, and then at the same time you're presented with, let's say, two desserts, and one is sort of okay, and the other one is seriously unhealthy, like, could be full of cream, sugar, whatever. If your system two is overloaded with all this sort of cognitive activity, your system one will more likely choose the least healthy option, or because it's got a sweet tooth. This is just your subconscious taking over because you're distracted. And the way it works is, your general life, you'll normally just be running in system one, and system one will only call upon system two if it's presented with a problem that it's not just automatically used to and dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Other than that, you want to run your life in as much as system one as possible. Right, okay, so the next sentence. People who are cognitively busy are also more likely to make selfish choices, use sexist language, and make superficial judgments in social situations. Now, that's a big statement, and yeah, I can see that. So if you've ever been in a situation like, let's say you're at work, you're stressed, or you could be working from home, and you're on the computer, and you've got some mathematical problem. You might be working on like Excel or something, and you've got to finish these numbers, and you're there, and then someone pops in in the room and asks you a question, and you just snap at them or you're off with them because you're so focused on this. And the reason for all that is because, like, this sentence here now explains it. The self-control requires attention and effort. Another way of saying this is that controlling thoughts and behaviours is one of the tasks that System 2 performs. So self-control of that could be like your emotions, but controlling thoughts and behaviours, how you deal with people, that's a system 2 task. So what it's saying is, if your system 2 is overloaded with this kind of cognitive task, this demanding cognitive task, you're less likely to perform favourably to controlling your thoughts and behaviours and your emotions. And I guess what I take from that is try and put more of what you do into a system 1 behaviour, and that requires training. So if it's something that you're learning for your work, try and put it into system 1, try and get into a flow state with it. That's hard, but it's like any training, whatever you want to do, whether you know, training to get good at a sport or a martial art or whatever, you've got to put more time in. You could say it's like Robert Greene's mastery. You want to make it a flow state, and a lot of what I always try and do, particularly myself, is to try and make myself more productive. Productivity is not just about saving time. You could say it's also about lightening the load on your cognitive ability, because if you make it easier, like almost if you can try and make it a system 1 response, like so you're in a flow state, then there's very little demand on your cognitive ability at all, and that just takes training. But if you can do that, then you've got almost like more short-term memory resources to do other things like make better choices. You can imagine that being particularly useful. So if you're you have meetings or any interactions with people, the more short-term memory you've got for things like cognitive abilities, which include, as it says, controlling thoughts and behaviours, the more likely you're going to get a favourable outcome. So yeah, looking forward to reading the rest of it, but just thought I'd share that with you. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. See you all next time.